The material you are about to read was compiled from private correspondence, misplaced documents, and whispered accounts in the corridors of the Vatican. Sources that, for reasons that will soon become clear, prefer to remain anonymous. I cannot reveal how this information came into my hands, only that the cost of obtaining it was far too high. The walls of the Vatican hold secrets older than the institution itself. Among its 200 rooms, there is one in particular that few are permitted to enter. It does not appear on official blueprints, is never part of any tour, and is absent from public ecclesiastical records. Known among the most select circle of cardinals as the Red Room, it lies 3 levels beneath the Vatican Apostolic Library, accessible only through a discreet door hidden behind an 11th century Byzantine manuscript shelf. My first inkling of the room's existence came during an apparently harmless research project on uncatalogued Catholic relics. An elderly librarian, Monsignor William Rossetti, after several weeks of discussions about apocryphal texts and months of building trust, let slip a reference to the private audience chamber. When pressed, he turned pale, swallowed hard, and abruptly changed the subject. The next day, his post was vacant, officially transferred to a remote parish in Sicily. My interest in the Red Room grew in direct proportion to the resistance I encountered investigating it. It took an entire year to gather enough fragments of information to begin grasping its significance. 18th century documents mention renovations ordered personally by Pope Clement XIII, who had the walls clad in a peculiar red marble, quarried exclusively from a now vanished site in the Apennine Mountains. Clandestine petrographic analyses of a small marble sample obtained by undisclosed means revealed unique properties: an abnormally high iron oxide content plus trace amounts of an element not listed on any known periodic table. But it was in the diary of Saint Pio of Pietrelcina that I found the most disturbing reference to the room. In pages carefully excised from the official editions of his writings, the stigmatized friar describes being summoned to the Red Room in 1947 after experiencing one of his most intense bilocation episodes. The account is fragmentary, written in a trembling hand. The walls seemed to pulsate as if alive, breathing in sync with some invisible entity. When the lights dimmed, I realized the marble emitted a subtle luminescence, forming patterns resembling unknown constellations. It was then that he manifested, not as in the sacred texts, not as in the prophet's visions. The being of light spoke in a language my ears could not understand, yet my soul comprehended perfectly. The revelations were so overwhelming that I begged to forget, for the human mind was never meant to bear such knowledge. The rest of that page was stained, as though soaked by tears or some other liquid. Between 1952 and 1997, 17 individuals are documented to have had authorized access to the Red Room. Of those, 6 died within a year of their visit from causes deemed natural. 5 developed rare neurological disorders marked by specific visual hallucinations of impossible geometric patterns. 3 vanished entirely. The fate of the remaining 3 remains classified at the highest levels of Vatican secrecy. The best documented case is that of Cardinal Friedrich von Hohenstein, who spent 7 hours in the Red Room during the 1978 conclave that elected Pope John Paul II. Witnesses say he emerged looking 20 years older, his once black hair stark white. His eyes, formerly brown, showed inexplicable heterochromia. One had turned a pale, almost transparent blue. Von Hohenstein spoke not a word thereafter, communicating only in writing until his death 3 months later. His personal diary pages from that period were confiscated and sealed in the secret archives, save for one sheet preserved by an assistant. On that sheet, the cardinal wrote, "Light reveals and light conceals. What I saw cannot be described. With the imperfect tools of human language, We are too fragile vessels to contain such truth. They have always been here, watching, guiding, waiting. The room is but a portal, a membrane between dimensions. The red marble was chosen not for its color, but for its vibrational properties that allow their frequency to permeate our plane of existence. The Church has known this for millennia. What we call miracles are mere side effects of a technology so advanced it is indistinguishable from divine magic. In 2004, a seismologist at the Italian Institute of Geophysics detected a curious anomaly: regular micro-tremors emanating precisely from Vatican coordinates at 33-minute intervals, each lasting exactly 3.3 seconds. Intriguingly, these tremors were only measurable between midnight and 3 a.m. When he attempted to publish his findings, his funding was cut, and he was quietly advised to redirect his research elsewhere. 3 weeks later, all his equipment was destroyed in an accidental lab fire. In 2017, a nun tasked with cleaning the lower levels of the Apostolic Library, speaking on condition of anonymity, claimed to occasionally hear chanting from the walls near the Byzantine section, like a choir of male and female voices singing melodies in a musical scale that made my entire body vibrate uncomfortably. According to her, these chants always preceded the arrival of unannounced dignitaries and their entourages to the restricted area during the early hours. I partially mapped these nocturnal visits using leaked security logs. Remarkably, visitors included not only high-ranking Vatican officials, but also renowned theoretical physicists, specialists in ancient linguistics, geneticists, and, most surprisingly, senior officers from the intelligence agencies of various countries. What could unite such a diverse group in secret meetings in a room that officially does not exist? The answer may lie in discoveries made during the 1985 restoration of the Sistine Chapel. Confidential technical reports indicate that beneath layers of Michelangelo's The Last Judgment were found mathematical and astronomical diagrams that, according to computer analyses, accurately describe astrophysical phenomena only discovered in the 20th century, including black holes and string theory. These diagrams were quickly recovered, and access to that section of the chapel was temporarily restricted under the pretext of structural fragility. For those who seek truth beyond the veil of consensual reality, the journey is solitary and perilous. Stay with us in the search for hidden secrets that shape our existence. Subscribe to receive more accounts like this, revelations that few dare to share or confront. In 2019, an exorcist priest named Father Dominic Salvatore was found catatonic in his Vatican quarters, clutching a fragment of the red marble. When he regained consciousness 3 days later, his only coherent statement before being transferred to a specialized care facility was, "They are not angels, never were angels. We have used the wrong language for 2 millennia. The marble fragment was confiscated, and Father Salvatore has not been seen in public since. The connection to St. Pio deserves deeper analysis. His stigmata, physical manifestations unexplained by contemporary medicine, began appearing after his first documented visit to the Red Room in 1918. Years later, in private correspondence with his confessor, he wrote, "The marks on my hands are not merely symbols of Christ's passion, but channels through which I receive transmissions my human consciousness cannot fully process. At night, when I am alone, they glow with an inner light that projects diagrams, equations, star maps of systems beyond our galaxy onto the walls of my room." Examining uncensored writings of Catholic mystics across centuries reveals a striking pattern. Many describe experiences with metaphors eerily similar to modern quantum physics. Saint Teresa of Avila, for example, in her The Interior Castle, depicts states of consciousness resembling the theory of parallel universes. Saint John, of the Cross, in his Dark Night of the Soul, uses concepts we would now recognize as quantum entanglement to describe the soul's union with the divine. A disturbing theory has emerged in esoteric circles. What we consider mystical religious experiences might in fact be contacts with a non-human intelligence using the cultural vocabulary of each era. The Red Room would thus be an interface technology, a place where the membrane between dimensions thins enough to permit direct communication. Within its most secret structure, the Vatican maintains an unofficial department known only as Custodes Luminis, Guardians of the Light. Persistent rumors claim that this group, composed of individuals trained in both advanced theology and science, oversees the Red Room and interprets the communications received there. Some of the 20th century's most significant scientific advances were, according to these sources, inspired by information obtained during these contacts and carefully disseminated to selected scientists through indirect channels. An anonymous manuscript circulating on conspiracy forums describes a 1986 incident in which an electrical maintenance technician inadvertently entered the Red Room during a transmission. He allegedly witnessed a spatial folding phenomenon, where the room's dimensions seemed to expand infinitely, while a luminous form of impossible geometry materialized at its center. The report claims the technician aged 30 years in minutes and began speaking 12 ancient languages. Some long extinct. He was immediately isolated and his fate remains unknown. Vatican astronomer Father Gabriel Funes made a tantalizing statement in 2008 about the compatibility of extraterrestrial life with the Catholic faith, calling potential aliens extraterrestrial brothers. Few noticed his specific choice of words in Latin, which when analyzed via ancient Kabbalistic gematria yields a numeric code matching the celestial coordinates of a star in the constellation Cetus, allegedly the origin of these contacts. Spectral analysis of that star by the Palomar Observatory in 2012 revealed anomalies scientists described as possibly artificial, regular energy emission variations that match no known astrophysical source. Project lead Dr. Marcus Hernandez published only preliminary results before accepting an unspecified position at the Vatican Observatory and ceasing all public communication. During a 2010 fresco restoration in the Pauline Chapel, technicians discovered hidden beneath layers of paint a diagram depicting DNA's molecular structure, the double helix with base pairs, more than 400 years before Watson and Crick. The restorer photographed it before it was swiftly recovered by direct order of the Vatican Secretariat of State. He was dismissed, and all photographs were confiscated, except one that reached me through indirect means. St. Pio's bilocation gift, being physically present in two places simultaneously, is reinterpreted by some theorists as evidence that contact with the being of light in the Red Room fundamentally altered his quantum structure, allowing his consciousness to manipulate space-time. Secret medical records indicate blood samples taken from him after Red Room visits contained chromosomal anomalies never before documented. The Vatican's Cold War relationship with intelligence agencies adds another layer. Partially declassified, CIA documents mention a program called Looking Glass, investigating paranormal phenomena for military use. Between 1968 and 1972, 5 American agents were sent to the Vatican for sensory calibration at an undisclosed location. All 5 later joined the agency's remote viewing program, demonstrating psychic abilities far above average. Intriguingly, they all reported recurring visions of pulsating red geometric structures and luminous entities communicating through pure mathematics. Jesuit theologian Father Ernesto Veronesi, who served as Papal Master of Ceremonies assistant in the 1990s, left a coded diary deciphered only after his 2016 death. He describes witnessing a Red Room ceremony during which light folded like fabric and voices that were not voices but materialized thoughts spoke to those present. Most disturbingly, he wrote, "What we call angels are mere fragments, partial projections our limited consciousness can process. Their true form exists simultaneously in multiple dimensions, and what we see is the shadow of a shadow of their real existence." In 2007, independent researchers mapped the Vatican underground electromagnetically using state-of-the-art equipment placed in nearby properties. Their unpublished findings detected a perfect quantum vacuum bubble exactly where the Red Room lies, something theoretically impossible to occur naturally and beyond current human capability to create. 2 weeks after these measurements, all 4 researchers suffered seemingly unrelated accidents. 3 survived, but reported complete amnesia of their research. The 4th, Dr. Elena Vasilyeva, a Russian theoretical physicist, disappeared en route to a Geneva conference. Her final email, sent hours before vanishing, read, "The veil has been torn, and I saw through it. They have always been here, watching, waiting for us to evolve enough." Nearly all leaked references to the Red Room use consistent terminology: nexus, threshold, portal, membrane, interface, never sanctuary, chapel, or terms typical of a religious site. This semantic distinction suggests a function fundamentally different from conventional spirituality. In 2021, a CERN theoretical physicist published a paper modeling pockets of altered reality where local physical laws could shift. It was withdrawn 48 hours later due to alleged methodological errors. The author, Dr. Johannes Kepler, no relation to the historical astronomer, accepted an unspecified Vatican Observatory post and never published again. A frequently mentioned object in Red Room accounts is described vaguely as the reliquary, the receptacle, or the chalice. Unlike any catalogued Vatican artifact, it is said to predate Christianity and possibly human civilization. A Russian Orthodox bishop visiting the Vatican in 2011 noted in his personal journal a crystalline object containing liquid light in constant motion, like visible thoughts. My investigation of Vatican architectural patterns reveals that the Red Room's area has remained structurally unchanged since the 4th century, despite numerous adjacent renovations. Even more intriguing, high-resolution satellite imagery shows a constant thermal anomaly there, approximately 3.3 degrees cooler than surrounding areas, regardless of external weather. St. Pio's relationship with the room and the being of light deepened after 1947. His diaries reference nightly transmissions occurring even at a distance. My room's walls dissolve, and I am again in their presence. Knowledge flows like liquid light. I see the creation of the universe and its end simultaneously. I understand that time is an illusion, a limitation of human perception, not a fundamental reality. What we call miracles are merely natural manifestations of physical laws we have yet to comprehend. Those who entered the Red Room exhibit shared physiological traits post-contact, persistent pupil dilation, altered brainwave patterns, particularly theta and gamma bands, and a curious phenomenon noted in confidential medical reports as cellular resonance, where isolated tissue samples continue responding to specific stimuli, even detached from the body. The Catholic Church maintains a separate archive for non-canonizable miracles, verified phenomena that fall outside Orthodox theology and thus cannot be officially recognized. Many involve individuals who initially identified their contacts as angels, but whose descriptions diverge markedly from traditional angelology. Recurring traits include direct thought transmission, subatomic matter manipulation, and references to a cosmic network of consciousness uniting all intelligent life in the universe. In 2015, a Franciscan theologian published a treatise on Marian apparitions over the past 2 centuries, noting a subtle evolution in the Virgin Mary's messages, from moral exhortations to frequent references to times of transformation and new consciousness. His work was swiftly placed under review by the Congregation for the Doctrine of the Faith, and he was sent on an extended spiritual retreat. The full manuscript never saw publication, though fragments circulate among theological circles, including a linguistic analysis suggesting the latest messages contain non-human syntactic patterns. What makes the Red Room story truly unsettling is the consistency of accounts across centuries, from medieval manuscripts to contemporary documents. Interpretations vary. Some regard the experience as divine, others as extraterrestrial still, others as advanced dimensional physics, but the phenomenological descriptions remain remarkably constant. For those who have penetrated the deepest layers of this mystery, one question persists. If the Red Room is indeed a portal, a communication nexus with a non-human intelligence, what is the ultimate purpose of this contact? Interaction patterns hint at a long-term program, a gradual acclimation of human consciousness for some future event. Internal Vatican records obliquely reference a date, 2033, exactly 2 millennia after the crucifixion, as the moment of convergence. The last known person to enter the Red Room was Cardinal Stefan Wyszynski in December 2022. 3 days later, he submitted his resignation for health reasons and withdrew to an isolated Swiss alpine monastery. A nurse who briefly cared for him reported that the cardinal spent hours compulsively drawing the same symbol, a complex fractal hypercube, while murmuring, "The veil is dissolving. They draw ever closer. The membrane will not hold them much longer." As I dig deeper into this mystery, I notice unsettling patterns in my own life. Electronic devices fail in my presence. Strangers watch me in public spaces. I receive phone calls where only a strange modulated frequency is audible before disconnection. My sleep is invaded by vivid dreams of a crimson hall where luminous figures communicate urgently in a mathematical language I nearly understand but immediately forget upon waking. What did St. Pio truly witness in that room 3 levels below? The library. What does it mean that so many Catholic mystics over centuries described experiences aligning perfectly with the most advanced concepts of modern quantum physics? Why do intelligence agencies worldwide maintain persistent interest in this specific location? And most importantly, if the veil between dimensions is indeed thinning, as so many sources suggest, what does this portend for the future of humanity? Perhaps you, reading this, have already been touched by this mystery without knowing it. Maybe you've dreamed of impossible geometries, glimpsed luminous presences, or experienced moments of knowledge beyond your own capacities. Ask yourself, what does the number 33 mean in your life? Have you ever lost hours you cannot account for? Have you sensed that you were being watched by something existing simultaneously everywhere? The clock reads 3:33 a.m. as I conclude this account. The lights in my study flicker rhythmically, though no storm rages. My computer briefly displays symbols I do not recognize before returning to normal. For a fleeting moment, I believe I see a pulsing red pattern on the wall ahead. The sensation of being watched intensifies. This may be my last communication. If you are reading this, it means I succeeded in transmitting these revelations before they were intercepted. What will you do with this knowledge? Will you seek the truth on your own or retreat into the comfort of ignorance? The choice is yours, but remember, once you begin to perceive the patterns, you can never stop seeing them. The Red Room exists. The being of light exists. And perhaps, just perhaps, they are closer to you than you imagine. At this very moment, are you being watched?